everybody, how's it going? This is Jackie Van Ham, your girl in the know for all things motorcycle. Welcome to today's show, everybody. Welcome. Woo, it's been a minute, hasn't it? Man, it feels like it's been 500 years since I've jumped out on here on the internet. I've forgotten what I'm doing. I don't know how this thing works anymore. I just disconnected it. So hopefully we're all running and rocking and rolling and you can see and hear me okay. It looks like everything is working and everything is going okay. So as always, I can see your comments though. So feel free to peek in and say, hey, I've got my second camera going so I can peek over here and see you guys. Dennis, thank you very much. Definitely welcome home. It was quite an adventure out at Sturgis this past year. If you are new to the show, welcome. I just got back from Sturgis. I was out there with my friends from BMW out there for the first half of the week and then jumped in and did some announcing, did the race announcing and commentary and play-by-play and all that good stuff with my friends over at Extreme Flat Track. And it was a hoot. I always have a great time out at Sturgis. It's always one of my most favorite events. It's like honestly, it's like a family reunion every single year. It's people from all over the planet that I only get to see maybe once a year or so. This year, of course, was a little different, a little up and down because of the corona, because of the COVID. So I was out there with BMW, and in order to be as responsible as possible and still have a kick-ass good time, we avoided a lot, and by a lot I mean all, of the major like parties and crowds and concerts, which that was a bummer. I always love those things, but we have to be safe and we have to be responsible. So what we did instead is we got down to the basics of Sturgis and we got back to the beginnings of Sturgis, which is actually riding motorcycles and enjoying all the beautiful scenery out there. So I was asked to be a part of a little bit of a reveal, a little bit of a behind the scenes, a little bit of a mega BMW fan. Invitation was extended to me, and I was able to go ride the brand new, not even in the dealerships yet, R18, which is the big 1800cc boxer flat twin. I've got a photo for you here coming up in just 1 second. It was an awesome week out there. Oh my God, I always have a great time, but this year was like batting 1,000. Like this was some bucket list shit going on out there. It was super rad. We rode to the Badlands. We did Iron Mountain. We did all of the rad stuff you're supposed to do at Sturgis outside of going to crowds. So we did it in a super responsible, fun, awesome way. We had a great time. And then the races the last 2 nights in Rapid City were absolutely incredible. And again, outdoors, plenty of room to spread out, people wearing masks, people washing hands, people doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it was just a really fantastic couple of weeks, but I just did not honestly have time to jump on here and do many updates. And besides, I was watching from a distance and it looked like everybody over at Cycle Source and all of our rest of our hosts on here had it pretty much on lockdown. So I left them in charge of giving you the live streams from Sturgis. I opened the camera once or twice, but I pretty much just focused on riding and being a part of Sturgis and having a kick-ass good time. And it was mission accomplished, yo. I had a great time out there. So anyway, all that being said, there's definitely a bunch of great stuff coming back on the calendar. The motorcycling life is finally starting to come on back, and there's just tons of rad, mostly racing, because again, you can be outside, you can keep your distance, all that good stuff. So it's mostly a lot of race news is what's going to be coming your way today. But whoa, is it a doozy. If you've not been tuning in to Moto GP especially, you are missing out. Go sign up over at MotoGP.com because it is just off to a crazy start over there. I've got awesome video. So stay tuned. I've got good stuff coming your way in just one moment. Hit that share button. Share this video right now with your friends that love seeing, watching, and being part of kick-ass motorcycling and motorcycling events and racing going on out here. Again, as always, welcome to the show. I can see your comments. Feel free to peek in and say, hey. James, turn your microphone up. Mine is plenty loud, and I promise you I talk very loudly, so it's probably on your end. Go ahead and turn your microphone up. Anyway, so for today's news, first things first, as promised, I went ahead and posted a photo of this beautiful R18 that I was aboard for multiple days out there in Sturgis this year. This is it. This is me riding it. I'm a little itty bitty 5'2" female. I don't miss meals, but I'm really short. This bike fit me like a glove, but we also had dudes on the ride that were 6 foot tall. It fit them great as well. So there's a wide range of folks that this bike fits. Again, it is the huge 1800cc boxer engine, the largest one BMW has ever built. And it was a blast. So that's what I can say about that. So huge thanks to BMW, my event partner for this past month. Thanks for having me out at Sturgis. Now, as far as events go, let's get cracking. This weekend, and actually today and tomorrow, it is the Indy Mile. Flat track racing returns to Indianapolis. It's the Indy Mile. It is tonight. It is tomorrow. It is at Indianapolis at the State Fairgrounds, which they have not run there in a hot minute. This is a very historical track. This is a very special place to go and watch kick-ass racing. Tickets are selling like gangbusters, so pull the trigger, buy some online right now if you're thinking about going, which you should. The folks over at American Flat Track Racing, by the way, AFT has only run one race this season. It's already the end of August, and they've only got one race in the bag. So it is just going to be slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, action-packed for the next couple of weeks, because I got to cram a full season into just the next couple of months. And this is a very, very common story for everybody in motorcycle racing right now. It is like back to back to back to back racing going on. And you're seeing a lot of double headers going on all over the planet, whether it's Moto GP or AFT or Motocross. It's a lot of like double header weekends going on. And AFT is no exclusion. So they have 2 nights of racing going on in Indianapolis. I did, like I mentioned, host some racing and saw some of my race buddies out at Rapid City. So we did, of course, have a little bit of time to chatter and spread gossip and hear all the new news about what's going on at AFT. The big piece of news, in my mind, I mean, there's lots of news, but the big piece of news for me, in my mind, is Harley-Davidson. So if you've been following American Flat Track Pro level racing here in the United States for the past several years, Harley-Davidson factory team has been working with the XG750 bike. This is a available to the masses bike. This is not a specialty race prepped machine. And maybe because of that, or in spite of that, or whatever, they have not been having a really, really good time with that bike. It's been very problematic for the past several years that they've been attempting to campaign it. Indian has just been totally eating their lunch over there every single race for the past several years. They're absolutely crushing it. Is it a race-built machine? Yeah, absolutely. They want to go win races. But did they follow the rules? Did they build enough of them and sell enough of them to the masses so that way they can be part of the series? Yes, they did. So, take with that what you will. However, the long and short of it is Harley's been having a little bit of trouble with that XG750. Let's just keep it real here. They've had great racers, and they still have not been able to figure it out, including Sammy Halbert. Sammy has moved over to Nyla Coolbeth Racing this season and is aboard an Indian motorcycle. So I'm expecting very good things from him. But really interesting news over at Harley is they picked up several great racers, one of which is including Brian Smith, previous Grand National champion. Brian is a phenomenal racer, particularly at miles. So I'm really curious to see what happens this weekend and where Brian Smith goes. Howerton goes as well. Mr. Howerton has been Brian's crew chief, bike builder, tuner, I don't know how you want to say it, but they work together like hand in glove, and they crank the most incredible performance out of these bikes. So I'm really curious to see now what's going to happen to this XG750 now that it has been in the hands of Brian Smith and Howerton Racing. So I'm really curious. Tonight's going to be pretty exciting. They had qualifying, I think yesterday. I saw it floating around a little bit on the internet, so I'm really curious to see what happens. Anyway, that takes place tonight and tomorrow. You can stream that over on, I think there's like a gold pass from NBC. Go click over to American Flat Track. AmericanFlatTrack.com? AmericanFlatTrack.com, I think, is their website. Go click over and check out how you can stream and find all that information. They always post, or have been posting free here on Facebook, their practice and qualifying rounds as well. So if you don't want to pay for it, which you should, it's only a couple bucks. But if you don't want to, and you just want to see practice and qualifying, that's usually free here on their Facebook page. So go click on over. So that's what's going on this weekend and up in Indianapolis. Again, I cannot stress this enough. This is going to be some really hella good racing. Do go look into it and check it out. Speaking of hella good racing, our friends over at Pro Motocross also are just getting their season started, and they were at Loretta Lynn's last weekend. I saw tons of incredible footage from it. Loretta Lynn's is an absolute hoot. It's a great, great course. It is just a very cool, neat thing. Usually it's not open for more than like the finals. They don't run more than one race there, but due to the Rona, they had to cancel their date, and so they're moving it back to Loretta Lynn's this weekend. Tickets did sell out for last weekend, this weekend, aka tomorrow's races. I have not checked to see if they're available, but if you are in the Tennessee area, do consider going to this race if you are a motocross fan. Again, Loretta Lynn's in Hurricane Mills, Tennessee is running tomorrow. And again, because it's back-to-back racing, next weekend they will be up in Indiana at Ironman. The following weekend they'll be up at Redbud up in Michigan. And they've got 2 events back-to-back up in Michigan. Anywhere, the calendar is on your screen. If you're a motocross fan, do consider checking some of these races out. They are allowing spectators. And this is just some super badass dope racing, so you should want to go check that out. Okay, so another race season that has been heavily impacted and is definitely a COVID casualty has been Moto GP. They had the Grand Prix class. Their very first race was just a couple of weekends ago, so they're also just getting started in August, finally, although I think technically they started in July. But anyway, they're just now getting started. They're only a couple races into the season. Marc Marquez is out with a pretty catastrophic injury that he received in the very, very beginning of the season. I think it was race 1. He had a little fall off, a little get off, and he broke his wrist or broke his forearm. They were hoping he was going to be able to get back on the bike and continue racing at the beginning of the season. That has not worked out. So this opened the door wide open to the rest of the competitors because Marc Marquez has just been totally kicking ass and dominating for the past several years, to the point where MotoGP has been a little boring. Not gonna lie, it's been a little boring because you know Marc's gonna win. I'm not talking smack. He's a great racer. He deserves to win. He's on the right bike. He is the right guy. I get it. But I mean, from a spectator point of view, unfortunately, it took a catastrophic accident to open the field up a little bit and make racing be a little bit more exciting, including a racer from South Africa winning the MotoGP 2 weekends ago in Brno, the very first, I think, South African racer to win ever, or in a gazillion years at least. So anyway, really exciting racing going on over at MotoGP. Last weekend was in Austria. This weekend will also be in Austria because they are doing the doubleheader style race weekends in order to keep everybody in one place, in order to keep them safe from Corona. So this next weekend is in Austria. Last weekend was in Austria. But here's what I gotta talk to you folks about. I gotta tell you about this absolutely bonkers, crazy accident. If you have not seen this footage, you have been living under a rock, because this footage is just burning down the internet. It's some of the craziest shit I've ever seen in MotoGP. Turn up your volume, because here it goes. So again, this is from Red Bull Ring. You can see accident number 1 just happened. The bike is flipping and spinning out of control. Luckily, Hamilton barely sneaks through there unscathed. This involved Johan Zarco and Miller were the main casualties in this crash. We can already see the racers getting back up on their feet. Here it is again, one more time if you missed it. Again, this was at Red Bull Ring last week. Bam! There she goes. The bike starts spinning, and another bike goes off track. This was just absolutely craziness. This is just some of the wackiest accident I've ever seen. I only poke fun at it because everybody was okay, thank goodness. One of the racers broke their wrist, but in MotoGP, that's nothing. They're going to pin that thing up, and he's going to race this weekend again. So these folks are absolutely made of steel. That accident was just absolutely crazy, but the racing has been super, super intense. I've got CNN on right now. Brad Binder had a front row seat for one of the most terrifying crashes motorsport has ever seen at last weekend's Austrian MotoGP. The South African was right behind Johan Zarco's Ducati when it collided with Franco Morbidelli's Yamaha, with the riders racing at full throttle. Let's go check it out again. Zarco and Morbidelli were sent flying. while their bikes carried on, becoming potentially lethal projectiles. That both motorcycles missed hitting and was just as miraculous as it was extraordinary. Motorcyclist must be watching him and his teammate looking at the luckiest guy. I think the luckiest guy in the world right now is Rossi, members told CNN Sport. The 25-year-old KTM rider shudders when considering what might have happened. Honestly, I prefer not to even think about it. You know the bikes are promised to weighing in 185 kilograms, 5 miles, 200 kilometers per hour. That hits somebody, I think, about that right end. So, Ender, this is the wheelhouse we're looking at, finished fourth after the red flag race eventually started, an impressive achievement from 17th on the grid. It capped the end of a roller coaster week for the man born in South Africa's Northwest Province. Just 76 first ever South African class race in the Czech Republic, riding in his third Moto GP. So super crazy racing going on over at Moto GP. Very, very exciting. So do click over to MotoGP.com. You can register with them, and they are streaming the races because they are still doing no spectators over there. So go look for these races. I'm telling you, they're absolutely mind-blowing this season. It is wide open. It is just going to be just an incredible race season over at MotoGP. Again, they're racing this weekend in Austria at the Red Bull Ring. Back in the U.S., another large event that has sort of managed to stay on the calendar is Laconia. Laconia Bike Week is starting this weekend. It is running throughout the week. They did recently issue, not like a shelter in place, but they did issue a little bit tighter CDC guidelines, I believe. I did hear about this from a friend of mine, that I think a lot of the bars are going to be closed or a minimal capacity. Anyway, it's just a little bit crazy out there. It still is open. It still is running. It's just like Sturgis. People were going to go either way. So I think New Hampshire just said we may as well, keep it open and just issue guidelines and try to make sure everybody stays safe, because we know people are coming, hell or high water either way. They already postponed it from the spring to the end of August. They are sticking to those dates. It still is open. It still is running, and there still is racing to be had. That's right, Laconia is another event, just like Sturgis, that has its foundation deeply, deeply in motorcycle racing. So there is still some kick-ass racing going on out at Laconia. The weather up there is gorgeous. It's a beautiful part of the country. You want to go ride bikes up there? I certainly don't blame you. Just stay safe, okay? So that's going on for the next week is Laconia Motorcycle Week. And again, to show you a little bit of the kick-ass racing that's going on, this is this weekend, August 22nd and 23rd at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It is USCRA, the 2020 FIM North America Vintage Road Racing Championship. So obviously this will be vintage motorcycle racing, which I am a huge fan of and love to watch. So that is going on this weekend at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Again, that is USCRA racing this weekend in New Hampshire. So a little bit of an early warning for some events that are coming your way next weekend, August 29th and 30th in Ohio. It is the August Ohio Fest. This is a race event. This is a bit of a rally. This is a bunch of cool stuff going on. This was postponed from earlier in the season. Steve Nace Racing was supposed to be part of it. They are not, because they're going to be part of Springfield instead. I'll have more information about this event next week, but just be aware that in Ohio at Wausau 525 track, there's going to be some really rad motorcycle racing going on August 29th and 30th, including Grand National Hooligan Championship. My friends over at the GNHC are running a hooligan class also as part of that event. Again, that will be Saturday the 29th. That is next weekend. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an early warning. This is also your early warning for another American Flat Track race event. This is not one, not two, but three races going on next weekend. This is the Labor Day holiday. This is the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. The 4th is the short track. The 5th is the first mile. And then the following day, they have another mile going on. Woo! Crazy racing in Springfield. Springfield has been postponed the past couple of years anyway because the weather just is super weird. They keep having to push the dates. It's just gotten real sideways, and it's really tough to pack those huge grandstands consistently, so I think they were going to push the date anyway and make it be a double header. That's been going on the past year or two, or at least they've been talking about it, and then with Corona, it just was the nail in the coffin for spring racing. Anyway, it's all pushed to the holiday weekend. That is the 4th is the short track, the 5th and the 6th is the back-to-back 2 days in a row of mile racing, so that's going to be just absolutely intense. The Springfield, Illinois mile track bills itself as the fastest mile in the world. I believe it. It is historical. It is the jewel in the crown of American dirt track racing. It is absolutely spectacular. I've seen some of the best racing in my life there. If you are in the Midwest, you need to be putting this on your calendar. It is going to be awesome. I guarantee a hell of a good time. The first night is short track. It is also hosted by Steve Nace, so that'll be a little bit of pro and am short track racing for the singles. Then the twins run on the mile the next 2 days. So again, let's go look at that slide so you can see those dates. So the 4th is the Steve Nace race. It is also an AFT short track singles class race. And the singles has just been super, super bonkers for the past several years. Do not look at it as some sort of entry level or, I don't know, people just have misconceptions about what the single class is. Single is super duper hella fast and very exciting racing. Anyway, they're racing on the short track. The mile, which is the twins class, production twins and super twins class, that'll be on the 5th and the 6th in Springfield, Illinois. So again, just another beautiful shot of me aboard that BMW R18. Huge thanks to them for having me out at Sturgis this year. I had a total ball. I had a blast. It was a great time. That bike was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. I kind of wish I never would have rode it because now I want one in my garage. And it was just an absolutely spectacular time this year. I just had an absolute ball. Pit stop. I had such a magical, incredible time at Sturgis this year. You know, with everything being so weird and COVID just smashing the industry that I am in and a lot of you are in. I know everybody is in a really weird space right now. It felt so awesome to see a lot of my motorcycle friends with a mask on. It's from a distance sometimes, but it was wonderful to see everybody and see everybody riding. The weather was just killer this year and the bikes were awesome and everybody was riding and rocking and rolling. The crowds were super, super light, contrary to what you may have heard on the news. It was a very, very, very light year at Sturgis this year. You know, so maybe people stayed home. That's okay. That's cool. But where I did see a lot of people was out riding, which was rad. So Sturgis itself, in this little 6,000 person city that, you know, usually blows up to a couple 100,000, you know, there still was a little bit of light crowds, but normally it is just jam-packed. It takes forever to get from one end of the city to the next. There's usually crazy traffic. Traffic is backed up all the way off of the highway on the entrance and exit ramps. Not at all. Not even kind of sort of. It wasn't even that crowded at all. I saw some footage of some of the concert footage, and it was footage from the stage and looking out into the crowd. Well, of course it looks crowded that way. You can only see the first 3 or 4 rows. But then a buddy of mine was actually at those concerts and had a bird eye view, and she was like, there was maybe a couple hundred people in front of the stage. I mean, it was really like this year. People were staying safe. People were actually like camping or in their RVs. They were going for rides. It was a really rad thing to see. I'm really pumped that I got to go and be a part of it. I've mentioned on this show a couple of times that right now there's this really interesting moment happening in power sports. And because people cannot get on planes, fly somewhere, go to Disneyland with their families, because that's kind of a not cool thing right now, or not happening, or the flights are crazy expensive. I'm not gonna lie. I've been booking flights the past month and they've been terrible. People instead are going out and buying trailers and RVs and bikes and little dirt bikes. All of the sales of those things are just through the roof. So welcome all of our new power sports enthusiasts. Welcome all of our RV and live outside type enthusiasts. I know that it's a really weird, hard time right now. I totally get it. I'm having it too. I've only worked a handful of times in 5 months. It's super stressful, but I love seeing all these families getting outside and camping and being safe and hanging out with each other and taking advantage of four-wheelers and dirt bikes and all that good stuff. So I think it's really exciting and a neat thing to see. And Sturgis Sturgis was the same type of vibe, to be honest with you, just with much bigger and much louder bikes. But it was totally the same kind of vibe out there, and I loved it. So I just wanted to keep it real with you all, give you a little tiny report back from Sturgis and tell you what I thought, give you some of the inside scoop. But I also wanted to bring you some rad events that are going on this weekend and the next couple of weekends, because racing is back. You know, rallies are not going to be happening. Almost everything, like 95% of things, are canceled as far as rallies and people crowding together, but racing is still happening. So do consider supporting some of these awesome races that are going on. Again, it's outside, there's plenty of room, you can wear a mask, you can wash your hands, you can stay away from people, but you can still have a great time. So I love seeing that. So please do consider that and supporting these little pockets of things that are happening and events that are happening in the power sports industry. So do take a second, share this video with your buddies. I know it was covered a lot of ground, but it was talking about a lot of different things: dirt racing, motocross, flat track, Moto GP. I try to cover it all out here. That's why it's called All Things Motorcycles, not Some Things Motorcycles. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have an awesome weekend no matter where you are out there in the world. I will be back on Wednesday with my regular midweek program, talking about some more events and things that are going on. As always, feel free to peek in and say hey in the comments. I love when you guys say hey. And do give me a like and a follow over at the Jackie Van Ham page. I move all of my videos and stuff over there. So give me a like and go check out some of my previous videos. I will try to get back on this next week, of course, for my midweek show and then my Friday show as well. And we'll geek out. We'll talk a little bit about some engine basics or bikes. I haven't decided yet. But have an awesome weekend no matter where you are out there in the world. Please do ride safe if you're going out riding. And I will see you next week. Do give me a follow over on the Instagrams. I'm at Jackie Van Ham, at the Jackie of All Trades. Thank you so much to my show partner for the next year, Vroom Retract That, vroomyourroom.com. It totally sucks, and it's supposed to. And I'm literally taking my car over there the minute I wrap this show up to go vacuum it out. Also, my event partner for this month is going to be my friends over at Extreme Flat Track. This was the flyer for the 80th annual Sturgis Rally Championship Series, which is gone, daddy, gone. It was 7 races in 9 days. It was totally kick-ass. Give them a like here on the Facebook on their page, or go check out extremeflattrack.com. There's more racing coming your way here this fall from the folks over at Extreme Flat Track Racing. Thanks to BMW Motorrad, my event partner for this past month. Consider supporting the show over at twostroketees.com. Free shipping in the lower US. The All Things Motorcycle podcast is still up and running, so make sure you go check it out no matter where you download kick-ass podcasts. Now let's go back through the comments and say hey to some of you. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I know that was a long show with a lot of talking, and it's been a hot minute since you've heard from me, so thank you for jumping on and saying hey. Hey, Dan Benson, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I had an awesome week, and actually literally just an hour ago I went and got my COVID test, so I'm hiding out at home until it comes back. I'm not sick or anything, but I'm just trying to, be responsible so I don't accidentally take the plague to nobody. But it was a great week. The weather was absolutely perfect out there. I mean, we didn't even get more than a sprinkle on us when we were out in the Badlands. It was super, super awesome. Thanks as always, everybody, for tuning in. Have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you next week.